My name is Andy Joss. I'm head of business value and data governance for Informatica. I cover Europe, Middle East, Africa, and Latin America. I'm really hoping that you'll get lots of value ideas from my session today. And that's really going to be the focus, is around the business value of data governance. Let's start by considering the business goals that data governance positively supports. Now, we could include revenue growth, cost reduction, margin expansion, talent management, corporate governance, risk and compliance, to name just a few. So how do we explain the business value data governance brings to an organization? When thinking about business value, maybe an easier way to look at this is to consider what organizational pain points exist and what the impact of positively addressing these pain points will be. All organizations have challenges that good data could help address. Exploring these and demonstrating how solutions address these impacts is a very common approach for developing and telling the value story. When we look at pain points, we need to consider not just the pain point itself, but also how the organization is, or people involved are, impacted by it. Most organizations are staffed by people who are good at working around a problem to come up with a good enough answer. Now, this might be good for the individuals concerned. Actually, it's not so good for the organization, as they're either having people undertake activities they shouldn't need to, or attempting to fix a problem without understanding the implications of doing that. Impact is a great way of understanding not just the issues concerned, but also how the organization and people feel these pain points. By positively addressing the impact of these pain points, we can quickly assess the value to the business of addressing them. So here's a list of the more common data governance impacts. Behind each one are a series of pain points that have an impact upon the organization. The key point here is that these are all potential ways of thinking about how to positively address impacts and an approach to calculate value. By considering them in total, an organization can quickly assess value and use this information to get buy-in and support from across the business. We also need to consider how people think about business value. It might be about how to reduce the time taken to undertake a process. It might be a way to reduce the risk value associated with a compliance issue, or it might be about how to make or save money. Now, we call this TRIM, which stands for time, risk, and money. For most organizations, though, getting buy-in or sponsorship is often about taking this overall idea of time, risk, and money, and then relating everything back to money. In the end, for many organizations, it really is all about the money. I thought the easiest way to look at this is to share a couple of examples with you about how you might think of quantifying value within your organization. I picked two very common use cases to explore, and I picked one of potentially several ways of expressing value for each use case. Now, there are always lots of ways of expressing value. I've just picked one to help tell this story today. Let's start by looking at how we can improve the outcomes for data engineering teams. Now, this might also apply to data engineering teams and data science teams. That will be down to how your organization is structured. We can use a value model to help quantify the impact of a major data engineering or data science pain point. Namely, that these teams are often spending far too much time on data processing and not enough time on data engineering or data science. Data governance should be able to automate and integrate much of the data processing needed for these teams, which in turn frees them up to do more of what we need them to be doing. So how do we improve data engineering or data science outcomes? If we think about the challenges this community often faces, they need several things, including the breadth and depth of data plus context from across the organization, and with the associated tools to manipulate this data in whatever way they need. They also need the integration of business IT and operations data, so they get a rapid understanding of the usefulness of the data for a specific project requirement or use. And they also need to deliver value, often through discrete data engineering or data science projects, quickly and efficiently. These teams often have deep technical skills and a high rate of project delivery, but are often impacted by the lack of the right tools and approaches needed to meet their needs. This is what slows them down and reduces their productivity. Here we can see some of the capabilities that the Informatica Intelligent Data Governance solution brings to data engineering and data science teams. A great deal of the automation, integration, and scalability provided, aligned with the different views of data provided for different communities, enables data engineering teams to spend considerably less time on a very large part of the data processing activities. The automation of many data governance tasks, the intelligence used to provide insights and context significantly reduces the amount of work items data engineering teams need to undertake per project. By freeing up time for data engineering teams using this approach, more data engineering projects can be delivered with the same resource pool. Now, this increase in projects is one way of looking at value for data engineering and data science. Let's go one step further. Let's start by looking at a typical day for a data engineer. The numbers shown are commonly talked about as being representative for these types of activities, but of course they will vary by organization. What we can see here is that the pain point around having to find, assess, fix, and prepare data, shown as data prep on the slide, shows an impact that this process takes a significant part of a data engineer's day. 80% in this example. This leaves only 20% of the day for the work we need them to be doing. By applying an automated, integrated, intelligent, and scalable data governance solution, we should be able to reduce the amount of time taken doing data prep from 80% to 20% of their day. Now, the precise numeric values could vary by the amount of the solution in place, the skills available, the organization's data coverage, etc. The key point is that the solution should be able to significantly reduce the amount of time required to do data prep. What we can now see is that by reducing the amount of time to do data prep, we've freed up a significant amount of time for those teams. Now, by making more time available, we give ourselves options on what we can have the data engineering team do with that time. Whilst there are a number of options, today we're looking at the impact of creating more available time with which the data engineers can do more data engineering projects. The positive impact of creating more available time is that we can get the same work output from the data engineering team, but with the output taking less time to deliver. If we can get the same output in less time, then we can create space for more data engineering projects. And if we can have more data engineering projects, then we can assume we can have more value. That is, of course, assuming each data engineering project does indeed deliver some form of value back to the business. So how does this approach drive quantifiable value? Let's consider how we could calculate value. We could start by examining the number of data engineering projects completed in a year and how much time it takes on average to complete each project. That's the right-hand side of the equation, with the number of days in a year divided by the time taken per project in the current or as-is state. This gives us the number of data engineering projects completed each year. And if we multiply this number by the average amount of value or revenue generated per project, then we get an estimate of the total amount of value generated by data engineering projects each year. If we now consider how many data engineering projects we can complete using these new capabilities I mentioned earlier in what we'd call the 2B scenario, this should be a higher number from the time saving we generated. Now, if we take the 2B value number on the left and subtract the as-is number on the right, what we get is the incremental value achieved by delivering more data engineering projects. We can see that reduction in time creates space for more data engineering projects, which in turn creates more value. The combination of capabilities I went through earlier enables data engineering teams to deliver more value to the business by delivering more data engineering projects. Looking at the quantification of projects and value graphically, what we can see is how much value we can obtain from the as-is state, compared to how much value is delivered in the to-be state. Now, this is thanks to the personnel efficiency provided by the data governance solution. And this enables the data engineering team to have more time available with which to deliver more value-driving projects. Delivering more projects is, of course, just one way of delivering value. Any approach you take needs to consider your organization's pain points and impact to build the relevant value model for you. Let's look at a customer example to show how this is real. AXA XL is a subsidiary of AXA, a leading global property and casualty commercial lines insurer and reinsurer. Now, they wanted to reduce the complexity and cost of managing and cleansing data across the business units. They wanted to gain insights into things like policyholder, broker, product performance, etc. They also wanted to retain profitable growth by identifying cross-sell and upsell opportunities for brokers and partners, and to also democratize data discovery and data preparation to allow data scientists, analysts, and actuaries to prepare and operationalize data for trusted insights. Now, results for them include the simplification of advanced analytics, helping them build innovative data assets both faster and at a lower cost, plus allow for faster, deeper insights to support new policy introductions while improving investment returns and lowering expense ratios. So let's look at another example of value, but for a different community of users and consumers. Now, in this example, we'll be looking at how we can use data governance solutions to improve the outcomes for citizen consumers. Now, you may be wondering who this community is in an organization. I like to think of this community as the business, the people in an organization who need good data to do their jobs well, and mostly sit outside of the IT, technology, and data teams. The impact here is that the citizen consumers spend more time finding, assessing, and accessing data than they should. Citizen consumers have a different profile of work to the data engineering teams we just looked at. Citizen consumers are generally looking for the quickest and easiest route to find the good data they need. And they're looking for an easy and simple way to access or request the good data. Their skill levels generally mean they're reliant on other teams to deliver the data they need. And this is both a time and resource constraint for many organizations. Positively addressing the time impact would enable less time to be spent doing these type of activities for this community and more time doing value-added work. And giving them access to good data would also enable them to make better business decisions, we would assume. Now, organizations are recognizing that they have a significant population of citizen consumers in their business, often far higher in number than the technical organization in its entirety. They also have a significant skills gap in that the citizen consumer community often doesn't have the necessary technology skills to get access to the right data for their purposes and in a timely manner. Therefore, any solutions need to address the needs of this community as well as all the others. So how do we improve citizen consumer outcomes given the skills issue we've just mentioned? If we think about the challenges this community often faces, they need rapid and easy access to good data, as often they don't have the time or skills needed to undertake this task. They need data context to help them assess the validity and usefulness of data that they do have access to. And they need a search, fulfillment, and delivery mechanism that supports their individual needs around data and their skill levels. If we think about what capabilities we would need to address these challenges and support the outcomes we're looking for, organizations need some of the capabilities shown on this slide. Now, this isn't a complete list, but it gives you a sense of what this community requires. The idea is that if we empower them with good data and good data insights, or context as we call it, this should in turn improve their decision making. This should then drive more value for the business through the impact of making better business decisions. Capabilities such as powerful searching, a simplified and relevant experience, and of course, automation of tasks enable citizens and consumers to get access to the data they need quickly and in a form relevant for their needs. The quicker they get access to good data and its associated context, the quicker they'll be able to make better decisions. So let's think about how we can consider value for this community. Now, they can use these capabilities to reduce the time taken for citizen consumers to find, locate, access, and consume data for specific business needs. And data context helps this community understand whether this is the right data for their purpose. Now, this time saving is calculated as the difference between the time taken for these tasks in the as-is world minus the time taken in the to-be world, multiplied by the cost of personnel, all summed together. In short, it's time saved multiplied by cost. But this doesn't tell the whole value story. Add to that the number of better business decisions multiplied by the value of a better business decision, again, all summed together. This really starts to quantify the value of improving outcomes for citizen consumers. Now, we can measure and quantify the value of personnel performance improvements through time savings. And we can address what the community could be doing with that time saving that adds value to the business. Assessing the value of better business decisions can be challenging, but all organizations have examples of where incorrect or poor data is negatively impacting business performance. An example could be that poor data is causing an organization to price products higher than is required, which leads to a reduction in orders driven by poor price competitiveness. The reduction in orders and its associated impact can be directly measured. So look for examples where poor data is negatively impacting business performance and use these quantified examples to show the power of good data in the hands of the business. As we start to add numbers into this formula, we can see how the quantification of value starts to get delivered. Now, given this community could be large in size, we should probably assume that it will take a period of time to roll out all these capabilities and enable the business to take advantage of them. However long this takes in your organization, you can now start to assess the value associated with improving the day-to-day efficiency of the citizen consumer community and the positive financial impact upon the business from these efficiency gains. Let me share another example of an organization who are on this journey. AIA Singapore offers individual and business insurance and financial services products into the Singapore market. They wanted to increase enterprise-wide understanding of the state and health of business data, including insurance policy processes and data standards. They also wanted to discover and understand customer and financial data in context and improve data quality to drive sales, improve decision-making, and reduce operational costs. Now, results for them, including providing a better understanding of customer information and other key business data with a single clear set of definitions, and keeping data quality high, giving them better information to optimize sales, decision-making, and costs. So having looked at a couple of examples, let's think about how we pull all of this together. Now, one of the main reasons for doing this will be to help sell the benefits of data governance to both the teams that will use and consume these services, but also the executives and stakeholders who need to sponsor and finance the investments needed to achieve the benefits. Much of what we've discussed is about how we translate pain points and impacts into ways of expressing value. However your stakeholder community views value, in many cases, the end results will probably be about money. Time and risk are both important factors for some stakeholders and some personas, but you need to understand how your stakeholders and your personas think about value and build a story that meets their needs. Coming back to this model, what we walk through are some approaches for how to address impacts and translate the impact of pain points into quantifiable value. These are the more common ones, but there could be many more for your organization. But hopefully this is a useful starting point. Data governance can provide value in many different ways, depending upon use cases, pain points, and impacts. However you think about the value of data governance, consider how you might tell the value story and ensure that this aligns with the view your organization takes about how potential value is created. I've shared a few examples today, but there will be many, many more that are much more relevant to your organization. Bringing all this approach and quantification together, you can start to explain how positively addressing the impact of pain points can make an easily understood value story for your stakeholders. In this example, we can see over 3 years, the most amount of financial benefit is delivered in particular areas and which communities will receive that benefit. Now, this might be used as part of a business justification for investment, as part of a plan to pilot a solution in areas most likely to deliver value quickly, or to help convince senior leaders that change through data governance will materially add to the business in ways they can easily understand. In summary, and to help you on this journey, Informatica brings you data governance capabilities that support the broadest set of business drivers, including regulation and compliance, customer acquisition, data analytics, and digital transformation. Today, we've talked about some ideas and some techniques that could be used to explain value across these drivers. To deliver the benefits outlined, we bring extensible capabilities that span people, process, data, technology, organization, and the enterprise as a whole. We do this through providing end-to-end, automated, scalable, extensible, and agile data governance capabilities. The net result of this is an approach that enables organizations to be using data governance to consistently drive business value. Thank you for your time today, and I hope you found this session useful.